Hey guys, Cameron with CBM Reviews here, and I'm here to give you the latest movie review. This is the review of Batman: The Long Halloween Part 2. This movie was directed by Chris Palmer, and it stars everybody that was in the Part 1. So, Jensen Ackles returns as Batman and Bruce Wayne, Josh Duhamel returns as Harvey Dent, and Naya Rivera returns as Selena Kyle / Catwoman. I'm going to give you as much as I can without spoiling anything, the things that I like, the things that I didn't like, and my overall score, so stick around. Before we get into it, I want to thank you guys for clicking on this video. It means a lot to me. If you could do me a huge favor and click that like and subscribe button, it really helps the channel out, and I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers this year. Also, if you want to know as soon as I put out a video, hit that notification bell. You'll know as soon as I upload. As I said, this is a part 2 of a part 1 story. This is based off of the Long Halloween graphic novel, which was written by Jeff Loeb and illustrated by Tim Sale. This tells about the second half of this long year that is plaguing a crime family called the Falcones. And it is up to Batman, Harvey Dent, and Commissioner Gordon to figure out who is targeting the Falcone family on every single holiday. That is kind of the gist of the whole story. Now, I will be honest, there are a lot of things that deviate from that kind of cookie cutter synopsis in part 2. And some of it I really did like. I'll try not to spoil anything, but I will have to spoil one thing on the things that I did like. First off, I want to talk about the story. I really liked how the story went with part 2. I like how it was complemented, or it was complementing part 1. There are a few things about the story, though, that I didn't like. I will get to those on the other part. But the visuals are still that same kind of thick line, thin line animation style that we have seen in previous recent DC releases. And like I said in the last review, I am warming up to it. This is no difference. You can definitely see Tim Sale's influence in some of the character models. Whenever you see Sophia, whenever you see other characters like, well, I would say Scarecrow, but that's pretty basic. But like whenever you see Maroni or you see Carmine Falcone, you can definitely see that Tim Sale influence there. Batman is done really well as Jensen Ackles. This is, if I remember correctly, the 3rd time that he's played the character. The first, well, technically 4th. The first time was Batman Under the Red Hood, if I've got all of my ducks in a row. Then there was Death in the Family, which was kind of a retelling, but it was a pick your own kind of deal. And then parts 1 and 2 makes 3 and 4. And he does a decent job. I do like the one scene where he is playing Bruce Wayne and he is being interrogated by Harvey Dent and Commissioner Gordon, and it's like 8 something in the morning, and he's like, hey, would you guys like to have a drink? Alfred makes an awesome Mai Tai, and Commissioner's like, it's the AM. No. I liked how that separate portrayal was. I thought that Naya Rivera as Catwoman absolutely killed it. I think she was the second best portrayal in this entire movie. I really think it's tragic about her passing, and she can't do anything more with the character, because this is one of my favorite interpretations of Catwoman. The design of her, the way that her voice fit the character, it's sultry but it's still caring, and it's so supportive. I do like Catwoman as a character in the Batman mythos. This is one of my more favorite versions of the character. But I said that she is the second best character in this movie. Josh Duhamel kills it. He absolutely slays it as Harvey Dent. As much as I was like, yeah, this Harvey Dent's okay in part one, in part two, he absolutely destroys it in a way that I was not expecting. He did such a good job with the character that I had to put some respect on his name. Okay, he absolutely brought something to the character that I wasn't expecting. Now, this is the part where I said I'll try not to spoil it as much as possible, but if you've taken a look at the cover art, you understand that in this movie, Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face. What he does with Two-Face is why I'm saying he slayed it. He deboned it, put it on a plate, and there was not a flaw in the entire performance as he's Two-Face. It is absolutely phenomenal. And there are some other things that were really well done. But we're going to talk about the things that I didn't like. And this is a big deal with me. I thought that it wasn't so bad as far as the first movie where they kind of go from holiday to holiday and sometimes I don't catch up. I was hoping that they would change that with this one. It's still there. It's a little distracting because we went from Mother's Day to Father's Day. Like I was like, how did that happen? We went from April Fool's Day to Mother's Day. Like, how did that happen? At least with like the first 3 months, we know when time changes. I wish they would have done that throughout the entirety of the both movies, to be honest. And as I said before, this is based off of a Jeff Loeb written graphic novel. And as I said before in my previous review, the thing that Jeff Loeb does that I absolutely hate is that he throws a bunch of Batman villains into a story. And this, he does it again. Except with this one, it's a lot more egregious. There are characters that are thrown into the story that absolutely have no business being in the story. Like, they're not necessary. And there are characters that have been put in the story that are necessary, but then they're put in another situation that make no sense as far as this character wouldn't do this. I can think of 3 off the top of my head, and they either don't belong in this particular movie or they don't belong in that situation. Like, that part doesn't make sense for the character. It takes away, in my opinion, from the focal points: Batman, Commissioner Gordon, Carmine Falcone, Harvey Dent / Two-Face, Catwoman. Those are your main 5 bones. And there are other characters that are supporting characters that belong there too. But to be completely honest, like in the last third of this movie, there are a few villains, and there's one that's even introduced earlier. They don't belong here. They're absolutely superfluous. I hated that they were on the screen. Yes, I did. I hated the fact that they were used in this movie. And even if it's being faithful to the page, you can make a change. You don't have to put those characters in there. These characters didn't add anything to the scene. They were more distracting than anything. And unnecessary is the perfect word to describe some of these characters that are in here. And they're mainstay Batman villains, but they don't fit the situation. The last thing that I want to talk about that I didn't like was the very end. In parts 1 and 2, there's this mystery. Who is the holiday killer? Who is doing all of this? And Batman does figure out who the culprit is. I will say, though, that it was very unsatisfying as far as a resolution to it. It didn't catch me off guard per se. Like, I was starting to kind of see where it was going by the end of the first one. Like, as I said, I haven't read The Long Halloween, so I was just as surprised with some things as other people were. But as I was watching it, or rather, not as I was watching it, but at the end of it, I wanted this resolution. I wanted Batman to do what he needed to do, and he doesn't do it. And I feel like that resolution was a little too loose. And I say a little, being generous. it The ending was handled a little sloppily. So overall, here's what I'll say. Parts 1 and 2 of Batman The Long Halloween is definitely worth watching. And right now you could rent one and then purchase the second one, and it's about $25. I'd say $25 is worth it because with that $25, you're actually getting 3 hours worth of content, which is very decent. Or you could wait for about a month or two and you could get parts 1 and 2 in a similar way that they did The Dark Knight Returns. And that would actually be worth it for sure. As I said before, a lot of people put in great performances between both of them. Troy Baker, of course, turns in that great Joker performance, specifically in part 1. Josh Duhamel does a decent job in part 1 and does a phenomenal job in part 2. Jensen Ackles is great throughout. Naya Rivera is great throughout. And everybody else that surrounds them, the characters that need to be there and the supporting characters that have business being there, all do a great job. The part 1 score that I gave on the last review was a 75, and I said before that it has a chance of going up, and I will grant it this boon. I'm going to give a score for parts 1 and 2 cumulatively, because this is a two-parter for one movie. I'm going to give this entirety an 82. The look of the movie is great. It's clean. You can definitely see what's going on. The voice acting is very well done with more than one standout, which is amazing to have more than just one person put in such a phenomenal job. We have a story that has a lot of twists and turns, a detective noir, as you will, and you get to see Batman kind of grow into a detective in a way. But there are some things that are left kind of wanting. There is a little bit of Commissioner Gordon's kind of portrayal that is left on the cutting room floor. There's a family dynamic that we don't see. And if you're paying attention, you're going to see the twist coming if you don't know the story offhand. Also, and this is a negative, there are characters that are in this movie, specifically part 2, that have no business being there. The characters that were kind of like added in part 1 do make a return, but the ones that are in part 2 are just kind of like thrown in there, and I didn't like it. But as far as a direction and everything coming together, it's a really good package and worth your 3 hours if you're a Batman fan, if you're a comic book fan, and if you're wanting something that brings back that DC animated, yes, that was good, this is where you're going to find it. Last but not least, I do want to give a nod to Calendar Man. He comes back in this as kind of like the agent who has all of the answers, but nobody wants to give him that chance because he is the smartest and possibly most dangerous person in the room. I still wish that they would have given him more to do, but you know what? I'll take what I can get here. If you are interested in watching this, take it from me. This is worth a watch. Watch parts 1 and 2 together for a 3-hour experience that you're definitely going to enjoy. So that's my review of Batman The Long Halloween Part 2, but then I put the two together so that we have a nice cumulative score. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel and share this with your friends. As always, this is Cameron with CBM Reviews. We'll see you next time.